Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cisco Optics Podcast, where we talk about pluggable optics for networks. Cisco's 8000 series router changed the game in high-end routers thanks in large part to the Silicon One ASIC. It also introduced to the industry some of the first 400 gig ports along with Cisco's QSFP-DD form factor pluggable optics. This is episode 33, and we continue our conversation with Ammar Khan, product management leader for the 8000 series router. In this episode, we talk about security features in the 8000 router. Ammar received his BSEE at the University of Oklahoma and an MBA from Santa Clara University. He started his career as a member of the technical staff at an ASIC emulation startup, where he worked on cutting-edge ASIC and FPGA designs. His first foray into networking system design was at another startup based out of Massachusetts. He then moved to Broadcom through the company's acquisition and launched and managed products with over $250 million in revenue. In 2010, he moved to Ericsson's IP division and defined their edge router line with an annual revenue of over $150 million. Ammar joined Cisco in 2018 and has been with the 8000 series router team for over 4.5 years. He's worked on various areas of the 8000 product line, including fixed and modular systems, line cards, fabrics, optics, platform security, and more. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast. On Apple Podcast, you would click the plus button at the top now. We're part of the Cisco Podcast Network. Check out our blog at blogs.cisco.com and search on hashtag Cisco Optics Blog, all one word, no hyphen and no spaces. You'll find podcast notes and links there too. For our YouTube playlist, go to youtube.com and search on Cisco Optics. And for product information, go to cisco.com/go/optics. And now, join me as I talk with Ammar Khan. Hey, so going back to this this idea that the bar is being raised, you mentioned like all this redundancy is valued now. Mm-hmm. Is it the same players that are just upping the bar, or are there more customers now kind of jumping on the bandwagon of requiring more reliable networks?
I think we have really brilliant, smart customers, both in the web and as SP. And I think the amount of they've always been very careful, very deliberate in terms of all the selection of hardware and everything else, and working with us. So they are more demanding now. They've always been demanding, but the scrutiny is more because of all these different optics that are coming out, 400 gig and everything else, and we just have to be we just have to address their concerns, because at the end of the day, these are our customers, right? And we want to make sure that if our customers are asking for something, we deliver. And like I said, it's not a Cisco selling session, but our customers' feedback has been, and we obviously solicit feedback, but they are very good at providing us good feedback. And we've made some, we have introduced some features in our products, and I'm sure in optics as well, based on our customer feedback. There are so many of them.
Oh, are there any examples you're at liberty to
yes, of course.
describe?
Yes. I'll give you one example, which to me is just true innovation, is standard-based security features that we have introduced in 8000 that our customers, obviously networks are expanding, right? So a network is an attack surface. So, it's prone to cyber attacks. So because networks are expanding, and one of the concerns that customers have, and to me, it's very reasonable. And I think this should have happened earlier. And Cisco has done it, by the way, with all our products. And that is establishing identity of hardware, and then be able to secure the supply chain so that there is no hardware breach. Be able to establish, like I said, identity of hardware, and then have mechanism in the box so that you protect against or do something like what we call secure JTAG. It's very common I haven't done it, but I know that some folks I know they've done it. That JTAG ports are used for testing, right? So you leave the JTAG ports alone, and they
Sorry,
leave them.
what is a JTAG port?
It's a port that is used to do board level testing, right? So that there are no issues at the board level, and make sure that all the board is laid out
So
properly.
it's just for like a utility purpose?
It is part of your design process, the JTAG port, right? And what it really stands for is you know uh, joint test actions something. I think it's joint test action group is what they called it.
Okay.
So it's an industry standard to verify printed circuit board designs, right? So you have a printed circuit board with components on
Okay.
it, and you have a JTAG port, and it connects to all the components, and it sends a bit stream, and then it receives it back to make sure everything is laid out properly. You don't have any, on the lines that you have laid out, you don't have something that is broken, or it is from design automation world. So I'm familiar with it because I use these components when I used to do board design. So that is, and one drawback with that. So there is a port, and you need a JTAG equipment to be able to send the bit stream and receive it and look at it, and then make some intelligent decisions based on what you have received. But a lot of time, what people do is they leave that JTAG port alone, and then some smart people would come in, tap into that JTAG port, and download your memory dump. Right? Get a memory dump and then reverse engineer
I see.
things.
So it's a security.
Yes, it's a security
breach.
hole. So we monitor JTAG ports on all the boards, and if we see any activity, we brick the box. We stop the box from functioning, and we send out a warning, and we're like, hey, something is wrong. There's a breach. And so that's something that happens seamlessly. When you boot the box, we seamlessly check something for all the components on the board. We check their identity, and we compare it with a signature that we have placed into a trusted platform module chip, which is a passive chip that hangs off of the CPU.
So how do you check the identity?
So the way we check the identity is that at the manufacturing time, when it is going through the manufacturing line, we scoop up all the IDs, and we create a signature out of it, and we store that signature in a NVMe in TPM that has a non-volatile memory that you can erase or you can write into, and then so it's always there. That signature is there, and it is part of a XR 509 certificate. I think it's standards based, so there is nothing proprietary. So, and then what we do is that every time you boot the box, the software goes out and creates that signature by picking up all the chip IDs, and based on the chip IDs, it creates a signature.
Oh,
and
wow.
then what it does is that it compares it. It asks that TPM to give the original signature, and then it compares the two signatures together. And if there is a mismatch, then obviously there is a breach, because there is the original components are not there anymore. And that all happens.
When you say component, what do you mean? Like, what could
Components
be a component?
would be NPU, your big components that are
Power
on
supply?
the power supply or power chips or things like that. Major components, I would call it, not the resistors and things like that, or capacitors.
But some modularized.
Right. That is
hardware.
correct.
Okay.
And so it checks for the signature. I mean, and if there is a breach, then it will just report that and breach and take corrective measures. So we do that automatically. The other thing that we do is secure boot, right? And secure boot is that, again, the TPM has a Cisco key. Cisco is we create our own keys, public and private keys, and we use them to verify the software. So every software that you download has a signature, and you check the signature for accuracy or authenticity. And then once you find out that it's authentic, then you start the secure boot process. So everything is checked and verified every stage is checked and verified before the next stage is executed. And we do all of that is done seamlessly. So these are some of the innovative things that we have introduced. There's a lot of other stuff that we have done. Obviously, one of the most other feedback was that power is very important. We want to make sure that you can do power effectively, and we've done that. And then, of course, same OS across all the different parts of the network, whether it's access, edge, aggregation, core. And with Silicon One, you certainly can achieve that.
So it's not surprising to me that the first couple examples you gave are security based, because that seems to be a huge priority.
It totally is, and I think security is going to play a major role as we move forward. It is very important that you want to secure your hardware, because from an operational standpoint, it's very common when our customers order something that gets delivered in one part of their network after so many days, and then it sits there, and then they stage it, and then they deploy it. So there is a time where you've got to make sure that when it's deployed after that period of time, there hasn't been any breach of any kind, whether it's software or hardware.
So we've covered a lot of ground. That was the fifth part of my conversation with Ammar Khan. Next time, we'll get into the future of optics and routing. Subscribe to this podcast, and we'd really appreciate you helping to get the word out. Share this with friends and colleagues that come to mind when you think of network technology and optics, and leave a review on Apple Podcast. We're also on all the other major podcast platforms. You may see the Cisco Podcast Network come up when you search for Cisco Optics Podcast. That's where we live, and you can find other great podcasts there too. Also, check out the Cisco Optics blogs at blogs.cisco.com and search on hashtag Cisco Optics blog, no spaces and no hyphens. We also have educational videos on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and search on Cisco Optics. Thank you for listening. This is Pat Chow, Product Manager at Cisco Optics. The next episode is the sixth and final part of my conversation with Ammar Khan. Until next time.